El Tambo is a small town by Colombian standards with a population of 35,000. It's about an hour by car from the city of Popayan. Popayan is more famous with its white colonial architecture and Holy Week celebrations. There's a university there that is very, very prestigious, one of the most prestigious ones in the country. The Harvard, for example. There were 17 Colombian presidents that came out of this university, so it's a big deal. The population, Popayan, is 300,000, and its location is between Pasto to the south and Cali to the north. There is only one good road that comes out of Pasto that goes north, and Popayan is on that road. Popayan is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but El Tambo, which translates into the dairy, is only locally known and rather ordinary. And it was on the setting that on March 16, 1959, in this little unremarkable town, that Abelardo Gutierrez was born. My name is Matt Hofer, and this is Walkabout. Flash forward to August 9, 2023, and it's the first morning of my new life in Colombia. And I don't want to miss anything. Eli Holcomb sings a song called I Don't Want to Miss It, and that's exactly how I feel. I want to experience it all the sights and the sounds, and experience all this new culture has to offer. From the vantage point of our apartment, situated on the 9th floor within a high cast iron fence, guarded 24 hours a day, something I would later learn that was commonplace in Colombia, you could see the Andes Mountains and the snow-capped peak of Nevado de Ruiz, an active volcano towering above the valley floor at 17,000 feet. The main mountain ridgeline averages about 7,500 feet above sea level, and Armenia itself is about 4,200 feet. The views are impressive, with all the different shades and types of palm trees, and vegetations, and birds flying by. And then suddenly I have a memory of something that happened back in 2015. Far better is it to dare mighty things than to take rank with poor, timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. Signed, Jeff Harder, April 2nd, 2015. This message was written on the table back when I was doing couch surfing and using my handmade table as a guest book. If you're not familiar with couch surfing, it's when you register your home on a website and let strangers stay in your home for free. You meet the most interesting people. I had the very first instrument-rated deaf pilot stay with us one time. I had a filmmaker from France, a world traveler from the Isle of Man, and her friend from Australia who she'd met at a train station in Europe. And then they both decided to travel the world together for 6 months or so. A D1 quarterback from the University of Miami who now coaches pro ball in Europe. He was traveling with his cousin and foreign exchange student friend from Beirut. And in August of 2020, his church got blown up. I had a professional swing dancer come through, along with a couple of rock bands. And if you knew me back in 2012, when I started this, you would have said, along with all my other friends, Hofer, what the hell? So it was fitting when that message was left by Jeff. Jeff told me at the time that it was just a paraphrase of the real quote by Teddy Roosevelt, and many of you might know it. I, at the time, did not. So here it is. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end of triumph, of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Teddy Roosevelt. I'm comforted by the fact that jumping off into the unknown has never failed me. Oh, I've been unsuccessful, and I've been crushed and disappointed and just pummeled more times than I care to mention, but I've never failed. And as I remember Jeff and Stephen the pilot, Bill, my high school classmate Travis, Edwin, Curtis, Chris, and all the others who have suffered and fallen down but are still in the arena, bloodied and sweaty and marred by dust and scars. I think Colombia's going to be awesome, and it's going to be just an amazing experience. Oh, I have no illusions. I'll be beaten and bloodied, and I'll be torn down, but I'll be in the arena. Anyway, I look down to the street and I can see trucks full of pineapples and plantains and watermelons and other various produce make their way up Calle 50, which runs next to our apartment community. It's a busy street full of small cars, motorcycles, buses, and big trucks. There's a small police station, like a substation called a CAI, and that stands for Comandos de Atención Intermedia, which is intermediate attention commands. These are little substations, and they're everywhere around the city, and it allows the police more rapid response to the needs of the neighborhood. Across from this CAI, standing on the corner, there's a man with an orange ball cap. Standing underneath an orange tarp, blocking the sun, he's making orange juice from freshly squeezed oranges. My wife and I walked down to this man and asked for some juice. A glass of 8 ounces is 3 million pesos, or about 75 cents, and a liter is 8,000 pesos, or roughly $2 US. We buy a glass and then a liter. Orange juice is so delicious. It's got a slight tang that tickles the muscles in the side of your jaw. And as we talk to him, we learn that his name is Abelardo Gutierrez. And over the months of getting fresh orange juice almost daily, we get to know him a little bit. And this is his story. On the day I talk with Abelardo, he is joined with his wife and teenage grandson, which is somewhat unusual. While we talk, there is a rhythmic thumping in the background as the oranges are sliced and put into heavy-duty cast iron stainless steel orange juice squeezer. He works the hand press effortlessly, knowing how many oranges to slice for each customer to fill the required container. We are right next to the street, so it's sometimes the soft-spoken man from El Tambo is barely overheard from the cars and the buses that drive by. Interruptions are frequent as people stop and order glasses of orange juice. There's a hustle and a bustle of normal morning traffic, but no one seems to be in a hurry. Abelardo starts out by introducing himself.
Bueno, el nombre mío es Abelardo Gutiérrez y soy de un departamento que llama El Tau. Un pueblito se llama El Tambo.
And that as a little boy, he always dreamed to leave his town and
A
explore and get to
mandar a
know the
conocer
world.
Y entonces, pues se
He
me
goes on to
cumplieron los
say that he
deseos.
feels that his
Me vine
wishes
por
were
acá
granted
a
and that he's very
trabajar.
happy about
Prácticamente desde esa edad estoy
that
trabajando por acá. Me quedé por
he's
acá
had a
viviendo.
very nice
Tengo
life.
familia por acá.
And then he uses an
Y entré a
expression
trabajar a una empresa
very
que
common
entré
here,
allá casi 20 años,
gracias
21
adios,
años.
which
Y gracias a Dios,
means
pues
thank
estoy
God.
ganando una medalla de
Abuelito left home when he was 14 and came to Armenia to live with some relatives. He busied himself
Bueno, pues a ver,
with
a
various
partir de la
jobs
edad de
almost
unos
immediately.
14 años
He met a girl
salí
and had a
de la
family,
casa,
and
de
he
la
feels
tierra mía,
very, very
pues,
blessed about this.
el anhelo que yo tenía era
Gracias,
salir a conocer.
adios, he says. When he was 27, he started to work in a wooden furniture company here in Armenia. The company was a one-stop shop where the wood was milled and prepared,
Tapicería
machined,
era
and sanded, and
lo
painted, and finally
último cuando
upholstered
ya
into the
la
final product.
mercancía salía para los
Abuelito
almacenes.
explains that his
¿Sí?
job was at the beginning of this
Y
process
hacia arriba era
in the sawmill,
parte donde
and
llegaba
this
la
is where
madera
he worked
en
for
en
19
bloque,
years
y ahí empezaba el proceso.
until, for reasons that
Hasta que
Abuelito did not
dentro del bloque,
explain,
hasta cuando
the
arriba, haciendo
furniture
todo el
company
proceso,
closed
hasta
and
cuando
left 60 people unemployed. As Abuelito was talking, one could tell that he had many fond memories of working at this place and was very thankful for the fact that he could work and make a living for his family. Abuelito said at the end, he had a house, a pension, and a family, and there was really nothing more that he could ask for. Gracias. Adios. After the factory closed, Abuelito started working at a small company that produced toiletries and household products, but had to quit some years into this job because he found that he was getting increasingly sick. Abuelito didn't really go into too much detail on why or how he became ill, only that it segued into standing on the corner mostly every morning from 6 a.m. till noon, squeezing oranges. Armenia is growing more and more to the south. The roads are widening, and modern buildings are being put up, high rises constructed. And through it all, Abuelito has been on the corner squeezing orange juices, squeezing oranges for customers, and has become a fixture in the barrio. Abuelito explains that he was standing on the corner for 6 years and has seen all the changes. I asked him how many oranges he goes through, and he said about 150 to 200 oranges a day. And he gets the oranges from the same supplier who shows up like clockwork on his red 150cc beat up motorcycle with a rack welded on the back, specifically designed for hauling small items like 50-pound sacks of oranges. These sacks are approximately 50,000 pesos each, which is about 12 US dollars and some change. He doesn't like the large oranges but prefers the smaller ones that fit nicely into the juicer. With the large ones, he has to cut them into quarters to get them to fit, and the juice just isn't as nice. The conversation flows into the earthquake in Armenia in 99, and then he brings up the one in Papayan in 83, which he says he was both present for. On March 31st, 1983, at about 8:15 in the morning, a 5.6 earthquake struck Papayan. The quake killed about 267 people and injured scores more. This was an important event in Colombia because this quake prompted the Colombian government to change building codes and rules about the construction of buildings. Then on January 25 of 1999, at about 1:15, an earthquake the size of 6.2 struck Armenia and the surrounding villages. About 8,000 coffee farms and 13,000 buildings were destroyed. Most of these buildings that were destroyed were built prior to 1983 in the new code, or were houses illegally constructed in the poorest areas of the city. 1,900 people were killed, 4,000 people were injured. And Abuelito said that neither his house or the furniture company were affected by the quake, and he was very thankful to God for this. Gracias, adios, he said. The conversation flows into the growth of Armenia and his perception of the new people moving in and the influx of foreigners. Because of its beauty, location, and climate, Armenia and the neighboring towns are some of the most desired in Colombia. Large farms called fincas are being whittled down into housing divisions and being made into Airbnbs or micro hotels. There are several theme parks here, and coffee plantations have started to focus on the tourism trade. There is the Cocora Valley just up the road to the north, and that has been turned into a national park with its 100-foot tall wax palm trees. People living in large cities like Bogota, Cali, Medellin, Barranquilla, or Cartagena come to the Department of Quindío for weekend getaways. Armenia has a growing international airport with nonstop flights to the U.S. or other Latin American countries. And Abelito's attitude towards this growth is rather positive, focusing on all the jobs that are being created. He's asked specifically about foreigners and the influx, and if the influx has bothered him, they're rude or dismissive. Well, the message I'd like to send to those who come visit our city is that this is a healthy department. The climate is very pleasant, and there is a lot of tranquility, a lot of peace that you can spend in both the city and rural areas with your family. Many tourist farms, farmhouses, hotels, well, those who come here are going to enjoy. I would say yes. They're partly positive because I go back and say there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of jobs to be related to the construction and tourism. It's positive for the city. Through the course of our conversation, Abelito always focuses on the positive and dismisses the negative by saying that many people are concerned by their own lives and do not mean to be rude by not giving a greeting, or that maybe they did and he just didn't understand that. Abelito feels good about where Armenia is headed because of the jobs which are created. He said there are people who say that the people from Bogota are a bit arrogant or have an attitude of being better than others, but he does not agree. People are kind wherever they are from, he says, and people are the same. They have the same problems and hopes and dreams, and we can't. Then Abelito's wife speaks up and tells us that today is his birthday.
Ay, sí, it's his birthday today.
¡Feliz cumpleaños!
¡Feliz cumpleaños, Abel! Que Dios nos siga bendiciendo grandemente.
We congratulate him, and he jokes about eating a cake when he goes home.
Igual es mi esposo.
Abelito was asked about working on the street in the sun, in the
Sí,
rain, and
necesitamos
all
una
types of
torta
weather.
para celebrar.
And his reply is very pragmatic, and he's happy that he's being able to work. Because of his pension, he only works in the morning, and then he makes a statement. Like the song says, "Y no hago más nada." I don't know the song, so I look it up later. And it's the original Lazy song. It's about a guy who does absolutely nothing, but that hardly sounds like Abelito Gutierrez, because Abelito Gutierrez is in the arena. If you want to have a gander at Abelito Gutierrez and his juice cart, you can head over to my Instagram page, Walkabout751. If you want to drop me a note, comment on today's episode, you can absolutely do that too. You can write me at walkabout751@gmail.com. Once again, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Looking forward to next week, where we take another deep dive into the lives, stories, people of Armenia.